Hello everyone, welcome to History Forge. My name is Taylor Hamlin. I'm going to be going over week 19, kind of 20-ish. I'm not really sure what I'm going to call the title yet, but we only had a couple days when we came back from school, and then we had a full week last week. So it was kind of, a 20-ish week. Anyway, so we're going to go over 7 days. Shouldn't take us too long. But yeah, it was the time we came back from school, so I had to refresh the students' memory quite a bit on what we're doing, what our goals are. The Thursday we came back, I messed up pretty good because I didn't realize a lot of my students hadn't reflected on what they want their thesis to be. So a lot of my students answered their research question, but I didn't realize how many. So it was probably about 20 to 30% of my students who had answered the research question, and I just completely forgot. So I needed to remember that for next time. So just teach you to always take notes. But on Thursday, we did talk a little bit about the semester test my students took. If you've watched these videos week by week, you know that I do a skill-based assessment. So I told the students that they all had to be at proficiency or mastery in order to move on. I am proud to say how many students were at proficiency, and so it was kind of a celebration day more than anything. We talked a lot about our designs. I mentioned a lot of what my future goals were for them as far as like where I wanted them to be at with their designs. And, that was going to serve, that conversation serves us now for the next 10 weeks, 11 weeks. Just getting kids on pace, keeping them on track, keeping them focused, because it's really hard sometimes to realize that big project you've been thinking and talking about and designing and studying is coming up sooner rather than later. So for those kids, especially helping them out, trying to find those ways to make them realize it's coming. So we talk a lot about that. Those are the design pages that we had students do. We also did primary source analysis. The students had to do four primary sources before we left for winter break. Most of them did. I had to remind them that they had to still get that done. And then the following week, the week like right here, which is day 86, that's where they had to do 4 more. So in total, each student has to have at least 8 primary sources that they have a sheet for. And that just kind of teaches them how to find sources, how to be good about collecting information for them, what to put in their project when it's all said and done. We're going to use those sheets throughout these next 10 weeks, always going back to them and trying to pull more information from them. So, in the end, they had to have 8 done by this Friday, January 11th. They had 8 done. And many of them went beyond 8, so it's really kind of cool to see how many students, push the envelope and find more stuff than they need to. Let me see. So yeah, we did that. It mostly became a reflection day, I found out. So a lot of the students had to reflect on what they want their answer to be. So we did a lot of that on those weeks. That being, we did a lot of answering the research question with their primary sources, and we did that again the following week because, again, we want to make sure these students understand that they're answering a research question that they created with sources that they analyzed and developing some kind of brand new answer to something. So that's all that. We went over the project calendar. I just covered the 9 weeks for the project calendar just to very much explain what I expect of them. We have here, it says year-long project primary sources. Again, we worked on that. We worked on project binders. We built our binders up. So now we have about, I have about 52 projects, so a little over 100 students and 52 projects total, where, we're just trying to organize the best as possible, trying to understand exactly where everything's going to go and be. It's been a really exciting time for us just to see how big these projects are going to get. So the binders just help us keep pace, keep organized. The kids always go back to them. They're going to constantly use them. I might even have one on my desk here I can show you. Oh, here we go. So yeah, you can kind of see they look like this, and looking through it, see if I can get the camera to look at it. They just put around their research questions that they want, and a lot of them have drawings and things like that. You can see they have primary source sheets right here. So those primary source sheets are all collected. And if it's a group especially, it's really nice for the group because they can all see what each other's thinking. And then finally, we have notes and research question answers. So the kids are, really keeping on track with each other, trying to figure out exactly what they need to do. All right, so moving on. That's kind of what the first 2 days is about, just reacquainting them with the big projects. I didn't really go into any history stuff. Going into Monday, we moved into our new historical topic. So we're away from the American Revolution. I told the students that I wanted to skip the Constitution. I wanted to skip the politics because we're going to have a fourth quarter project after National History Day is done about civics and just about being good a social citizen, tying in my mostly my civics and my American history and my economic standards all together in one. The American history standards that go around the U.S. Constitution, I think, are really good with civics. And I normally spend like December, January going over it, but I really think it'd be fun to kind of do a standalone project for about 8 weeks, where we really look into a problem or a solution that students want to like look into and research it and tie it to historical ideas. So we're going to do that. We should have a lot of fun with it. Still kind of planning it out. So we skipped the Constitution. We moved into what I'm calling a migration-immigration unit. It's going to be about 4 or 5 weeks, and we're going to study, we call it Western expansion, but I think overall the word migration probably is better, just because Western expansion makes it sound like people meant to expand, but they really didn't. A lot of people who went west went there not because they were trying to expand into the West, just because they were trying to settle anywhere. They just wanted a place to live. And so historians call it Western expansion to describe the moment, but the people themselves really didn't even realize the moment was happening. Some of them might have, like, later into it. But we need to remember that, like, a word like manifest destiny did not exist when these things started. Like, it was well 20 years into the actual movement that we start hearing words like manifest destiny and even Western expansion. So we call it migration and immigration because a lot of people are coming into America. I think it's important to constantly remind students in American history class that we are a country of immigrants, and we do have a population of First Peoples, but mostly the millions of people that live in the United States come from ancestors that did not come from here. And these people had a lot of discrimination they had to face. They normally had to face a lot of hardships. And it really does define the characteristics of being an American. And so it's important to remind people that they also have a lot to study as far as those immigrants. So migration and immigration is our topic, where we mostly start with the migration part, talking about like Lewis and Clark, the Louisiana Purchase, just the basics. And then I'm going to get more into the specific groups of people that were, Native Americans that were conquered. I'll start talking about groups of people that came here who were discriminated against. We'll start talking about the immigration question just because it is very relevant to what's happening now. We'll ask questions like, we'll talk about border security for sure, but we'll also talk about, who is allowed to come here and be an American, who should be allowed to immigrate. We've had questions like that before. Like during the American Revolution unit, my question was, what does it mean to be an American? Like, what is the identity? Like, what binds us together? And so for this, under the very same vein, it will be who's allowed to come here? Who should be allowed to be an immigrant of America? So we'll talk about that. We have a social studies skills video too. We're going to do brand new skills. If you click on the video, it'll take you to the YouTube channel. We're going to finish up these skills. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish every single skill I had intended for. This is a very brand new thing for me and these students and social studies in general. It's very experimental, but I'm liking the way it works so far. I can confidently say that students understand how to do certain skills, but they need to be refreshed. We need to practice, and so part of me thinks that it might be better for me just to practice the current skills we have. I might teach them a few more, but I might not do the full load. But anyway, YouTube channel still has all that stuff, so feel free to check out videos if you want to. Moving down to Tuesday, we have a historical question. The question was, I can't even remember. It was on Tuesday when we did it. It was a debate question though. It was about immigration and migration. We just talked about what that means to them. I think it was a very general question. We did a little context reading about Western expansion in general, so the students had a better, deeper understanding of what that all is. We practiced a social studies skill that took a while. Went into the next day. So practicing that sourcing skill I taught them. They did a Louisiana Purchase video, so they learned a little bit more about how Western expansion or migration was encouraged. And we didn't do the primary source analysis work time. Oh yeah, no, we did. Wait. Yes, we did, because the students had to do 4 sources by Friday. So I gave them a little time. Most of them didn't take it because they were busy with these 2. But Thursday was an all-work day. That's what I really should call it, because that's what it was. The students worked on getting 4 primary sources done and getting their designs done. So, it's kind of my style. It's what it's been evolving into is, we do 3 days of, history and skills, and then we do 2 days of, trying to tie those, historical concepts and skills into practical things. So, for example, I'll tell students that, hey, you need to learn this skill, and then by Friday you need to apply it to your project or this essay or this discussion that we're doing. And a lot of people will say, well, where do you, doesn't that cut into your history talks? And yeah, it does. I used to lecture a lot more when I was a student teacher or my first year, and I've had to give it up because these skills in my mind are more important for them to learn. And I think they get a deeper understanding of history and appreciation for it. They really do see the potential and the growth that they, can find in themselves for it. So, it's my decision I made, and I'm happy to listen to comments if you have them. And then finally, going to Friday, they had a lot of things due. It says to develop thesis and organize main ideas video. We did not do this. We pushed that to Monday the next week, so you'll hear about that the next video. We did do the primary source analysis work time. So really Friday was all about getting caught up, finishing the designs. I got kids ahead, so we did a lot of reflection on our sources. And then going into next week, that allowed me to start working with students on actually writing down their main points that they're going to use to defend their thesis. So, a lot of big steps this week. The dates are fast approaching. The students are beginning to feel the pressure. I've had a lot of students ask me, hey, can we stay after school now? And I said, yeah, sure. It's important to know that students, I don't make anybody stay. They all do it on their own volition, which to me shows they really do care about this stuff. So, feel free to check out the links, and if you're interested in this other stuff, History Forge has got a Facebook and Instagram, a few other things. I try to post 2 or 3 times a week just to share resources, my ideas, things like that. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to share them with me. I'd love to hear them. And that's pretty much it. So take care, have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Bye.